So guys, of course we had to do a video talking a little bit about some of the changes that we had in the last day of the dev server after we got the data mines. Of course, once the dev server was opened, of course I have to check everything and test everything to see what is different, but then Gszabi always comes for the win and actually do a data mine, right? So thank you Gszabi for doing this, and now we can actually see everything that was changed, right? So we're gonna talk about some of them. There are some interesting buffs and nerfs to some of the aircraft that are coming to the game, and some others, and some other little things here and there that I wanted to talk about, okay? So there were changes, including, like, for example, the BR change of the F-18 going to 12.3, stuff like that that we already talked about in that last day update dev server kind of video that we did, okay? So we're gonna bypass those things because I don't want to repeat myself. So if you want to check most of the things, go there, but here are some of the things that are just kind of minor, okay? So we started off with some kind of buffs and nerfs to flight models, or changes to flight models. I was made by Prey apparently, so yeah, thank you Prey for doing this. And yeah, they added, the main thing that we talked about there is that they added maneuverability mode, which is the turning off of the AOA limiter for multiple aircraft, including all the Eurofighters, all the F-15s, okay, all of them, the J-10s, the MiG-29s, some Sukhois, they were changing some things as well, the Rafale, the Gripen, the Draken, and yeah, that was kind of it. So a lot of vehicles received that mode, which is pretty cool. And then we had some changes to the flight models themselves, right? So for example, they had, for example, for the Eurofighter, slightly reduced induced drag depending on the speed in the lower airspeeds that the aircraft was doing. So basically increasing decreasing retention and sustained turn rates in certain speeds and stuff. So there were some small changes here and there that are very specific in speed. So in general, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but just remember that there were some nerfs and some buffs depending on speed, but it's very small changes. And the main thing is that, for example, for the Eurofighter, is that they added the maneuvering mode, right? The limiter of the AOA. So for the F-15, they added basically they increased the pitching moment depending on the speed and the angle of attack. That's more due to the maneuverability mode as well, as I was talking about. They changed a little bit of the F-18, making sure that it can pitch a little bit more in the higher AOAs as well. So small little changes like that, okay? The big changes really come for, I think, the MiG-29, that they completely made it so that it can actually, pull a lot more AOA. Or, I mean, they say it's slightly, but eventually becomes a lot, up to max 0.75, and past beyond that, it's kind of the same. So what that means is basically the maneuverability mode. This means that the MiG-29 is finally being able to pull the 30 plus AOA of the degrees of AOA that it could in real life in short periods of times, losing a lot of energy, but being able to have that nose authority to do shots and to win dogfights if needed, which is pretty cool. The MiG-29 will be a completely different aircraft after this update. Really, I need to fly that thing. As you know, I love the MiG-29, and it always was something that I kind of had a feeling that it was meant to be better in the game, and finally it is having at least that nose authority, right? For the Rafale, of course, they did that the same, increasing the pitching moment of the aircraft in high AOA situations. That was added for all the vehicles that had the maneuverability mode, basically. The Gripen as well, the Draken a little bit as well in the lower AOAs, but still. And then we talk about the SU-30SM. The SU-30SM actually had, with zero flaps and stuff, basically had one of the values, which is the Oswald's efficiency number, that I'm not gonna get into it, but basically they changed it a little bit, the flight model, that it would actually increase the retention of speed and increase basically the sustained turn rate. So basically at the end of the dev server, the SU-30SM actually got a buff to its flight model. Okay, which is pretty cool. They made it also that it's more prone to wing stalls when in high AOA. What is a wing stall? Basically, it's a reverse roll, right? So basically, you would mean that one of the wings would lose, you know, it would stall, you would lose the lift, basically, right? And it would create basically, you know, one wing or the other or both of them stalling it out a little bit quicker or being more prone to that in high AOA situations. So the aircraft itself will stall it out quicker, technically in high AOA, but it will have an increased retention in speed and increased sustained turn rate in the turns, which is pretty cool. Okay. So in the dev server, like the data mines, there are some other things that we already talked about, like the F-18A only having 4 missiles, AIM-7s instead of 6 now, the addition of the laser JDAM for the F-18C late, the addition of the large chaff only countermeasures for the Harrier T-10, the new bombs for the J-11B, all of those things, you know, they were already shown in the other videos, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but yeah, they are here as well. There were some visual changes to the missiles. I talked about that. The PL-8B and R-77-1 as well got new models, which is, you know, just normal things that are fixing and everything. And then an interesting one. So we had a lot of weapons being added to the game, right? But there were not in the dev server. So we had the KH-59s, the C-704, and some others, and many others actually weapons. Even, I mean, from the past year, we had the Python 4 in the files and it never got added, right? The M120C was in the files and it didn't get added. But there was a new weapon text. Basically, that means when they are trying to add this type of weapon in the game for the spice bombs, so the Israeli intelligent weapons, right? The 250, 1000, 2000 spice bombs are having new weapons texts being added to the files, which could mean that in the actual day of the patch they could add these bombs. I don't know who actually could use them. I'm pretty sure the F-15E and some of the other aircraft, but yeah. Smart bombs for the Israelis, new smart bombs, right? And that's kind of it, guys. I know it's not a lot. It really is not a lot, but that was basically the last data mines. There are other little things here and there, but these are the major ones. So the main thing is that the SU-30 got buffed in the flight model a little bit. I mean, you know, they're fixing the flight model. It's not really a buff, but you know what I mean. The Rafale got buffed, the Gripen, the Eurofighter, the J-10. All of these aircraft are be able to push, depending on situation, but especially the Eurofighter and Rafale being able to pull a lot more AOA due to the maneuverability mode. The MiG-29 also doing that. So yeah, a lot of changes to the flight models. We're gonna have to fly every single aircraft that they changed the flight model about, because they're gonna be completely different in a dogfight once the update is out, okay? But basically this is it. Thank you, Gszabi, for doing this. The links are in the description for you to help him out, and I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and bye guys, see you.